Hi, back again. Conversations with Keith, continuing with the political views so that we can get all the information out with you. I've joked throughout the day here on Wednesday. We've been putting videos up. Had Josh Plummer's lead off. Then the number 2 hitter was Bobby Fogel. Then Darren Gregg serving 3. Now the cleanup. So it's kind of what was George Foster, Johnny Bench there back in those 75, 76 runs.
Foster B.
Something like that. So that's what you could kind of relate to. Or Tony Perez, that's probably who it was.
Yeah.
The big dog.
Yeah.
But we're here and talking to Rick Menier, District 4.
Yep.
One of the things we've asked all the candidates, first off, who is District 4?
District 4 makes up the McKinney'sburg precincts, the library, Blanket Creek, library, Blanket Creek, and Oakland Church precincts.
And when you say library,
the library's got its own precinct.
Okay.
They all voted Southern.
Okay.
And then Oakland Church, back in the day when they were out into the local areas, like the churches and so forth, well, Oakland Church still had their little precinct. Well, they just merged them all down to Southern, and those 3 precincts make up District 4.
Now, is that, when you say library, is that the old library location right down here or the new one?
Well, they voted Southern, but it used to be voted at the old library.
But it would be considered on this side of 27 is what I'm saying.
Yes, well, the library precinct would take in basically all of Falmouth.
Okay.
And the Boner Village, Conrad subdivision area in that area. And then you get on the other side of 27, it goes to Blanket Creek. And then you go on out to McKinney'sburg and it incorporates Oakland Church precinct.
So pretty much what would be the southeast corner of Pendleton County.
Yes.
Yeah. I was amazed when Dennis and Josh were sitting here. I didn't realize that my district, District 2, came right out here to Camp Northford.
Actually, District 2 and my district split Lennoxburg right down the middle.
Really?
The right side of Lennoxburg Road is District 4. The left side is District 2.
Oh, okay.
Until we get to Trangler Road, and then Trangler Road becomes all District 4 all the way to the Brighton County line. Comes up Brighton County line to the Harrison County line. Comes down through Rankin Mill to Morgan at the bridge in Morgan, and then goes to Hay Station, to the bridge there at Hay Station, and comes down the railroad track.
Well, there's one thing that's obvious right off the bat. If you're magistrate, you get to know the names of the roads in the county.
Yeah. That's a definite, because they'll call, if you don't know them, they'll call you, and you'll soon know them.
Absolutely. Well, what year did you graduate from Pendleton County?
1990, went through Pendleton County. My 3 daughters have also went through, well, I got one that's a junior this year. They've all went through Pendleton County also. Lifelong resident of Pendleton County and District 4. Yeah. I've lived in District 4 my whole life.
Now, you used to be on city council?
I sat on city council for 8 years. I guess that was probably 8 years ago is when I got off of city council. I enjoyed that, got into it, and we actually got quite a bit accomplished while I was on there. We built the new sewer plant out south of Falmouth there for the city. We did the streetscape program downtown through the Renaissance program. Ran the line up to the high school. Paid off the water plant.
What line?
The sewer line.
We
put a $500,000 sewer line going to the high school. Paid off the sewer plant all in the 8 years that I sat there. And I can't take credit for all that. Gene Flahar was the mayor at the time. Through the biggest part of it, and then April DeFalco come in the second half of it. But we did get a lot accomplished in those 8 years. Mark Hart sat on there with us.
Why the move over to magistrate?
Well, I felt...
You still live in Falmouth?
I live on Reservoir Hill.
Okay, so you still live in Falmouth city limits?
Still live in the city limits. I just felt that, I wanted to be more involved in what goes on in the county environment for, say, that also could enhance Falmouth too.
Gotcha.
Because if Falmouth looks bad, we all look bad. I mean, this is our county seat. We need to make it a thriving place so we can make the rest of the county thrive also.
Gotcha.
And I thought I could bring both sides of the spectrum with that. I could, I've seen the city side of it and what they go through, the trials and tribulations. Now let me bring that to the court and see if we can't have a good working relationship. And I think it's helped out over the years. I mean, there's been several years in the past that there wasn't always a good relationship between the cities and the counties and the school board, as you know.
You know, I was doing 25 years ago, the looking back section, back in 1993. This was back in May, June. And there was a little section that letters to the editor where the judge-exec had sent a letter in ripping the mayor.
Yeah.
The mayor replied, ripping the judge. It was like, whoa!
Yeah. And you can't have a strong community when you're divided like that.
Yes.
I
Great.
mean, when we go after something, we need to go after it as a group and as a one voice and try to, if Falmouth needs something, I guarantee you that all the magistrates and the judge is right on board trying to figure out a way that we can make that happen, or Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Northern Pendleton Fire District, we work well trying to get them whatever they need.
And bringing the representatives and the senators in on this issues that at the state level, that one of the things that I've seen is the necessity to be able to work as a group, all of it.
Yes.
Getting them bringing things into Pendleton County so that you all can use and manage and help run the community.
Well, and it's also to have a strong relationship with those guys, because they're seeing it on the front end, something, well, yeah, that'll work in our community. Mm-hmm. Let's take it back. And as long as, they got good rapport with the judge and the fiscal court and the mayors and councils, then, it all kind of drives itself, and we move right along. And that's why we've been so fortunate to do some of the things that we have done in the last few years.
Now, beyond the political background, I know you're a small business owner.
Yeah.
Tell us kind of how that got started. How did you get into starting your own business? And
well, I got out of school and I went to work for Fuller's. I think everybody did at one time or another.
Now, Fuller's was where the library was, right?
Where the library is.
Yeah,
currently.
the library is now. Yeah.
And they were looking to relocate some of the jobs to Mexico, so they offered basically a buyout. Mm-hmm. So I took the buyout. They sent me. I went on to school through that buyout program. I went back to school through Gateway. Started the process of getting my master's in heating and air and so forth. So then, while I was transitioning into that, I got a job at Home City Ice and became a regional manager for Home City Ice while I was going through this program over here. Got through the program over here and got my master's and so forth. Put what they call shelved it because I didn't need it. I was working through them guys, and I had the service area that actually went from Battle Creek, Michigan, all the way to Nashville. I was over the ice makers and all the little ice machines and the maintenance guys for those districts. So
it was similar to the HVAC because you were working on the
refrigeration.
Yes.
Well, Home City Ice sent me to Manitowoc, Wisconsin for a while to do refrigeration school.
Oh.
So I got through that training also with them. Worked about 8 or 9 years in that field. They wanted me to relocate to Peoria, Illinois. Wasn't really interested in that. I had a small landscaping business going on at the time. It was doing all right. So I seen the writing on the wall. It was probably time for me to start looking out. So I pulled my master's out, started utilizing, and I was doing some, refrigeration for the local businesses, the Wellses, Stacy and Joey, and those guys, and kind of built off of that. And got into the trucking business for a little while, and then I had the landscaping, the trucking, the real estate business. And so I had 3 LLCs going on at one time. And then I sat down and I thought, well, I'm meeting myself coming home. It's time to figure out which way you want to go here. Started putting a pencil to it, got out of the trucking business, got out of the landscaping, kept the LLC for the real estate, kept the LLC for the heating and air. So currently I run Armenier Heating and Air and Armenier Enterprise.
So how long have you been doing that?
About 18 years now.
Really? 18 years? Wow.
Yeah.
Now, and that's a great segue into one of the main questions I have is because you've been a small business owner multiple times.
Yeah.
One of the candidates for senator was in here last week and gave a stat that the #1 employer for the state of Kentucky is small businesses. What does fiscal court need to do to make sure we have a thriving environment for small business owners in this county?
Well, it's we've got the problem with the workforce. Obviously, you know, the soft skills
Mm-hmm.
are a big issue. I mean,
Explain soft skills.
soft skills is getting people to actually show up to work when they're supposed to show up to work, and working when they're supposed to be working. I mean, you can train a guy if you get him there, and he's trainable. You can train him, but if you can't get him there, he's not worth, you know, anything to you. I mean, it's just useless. And we have an issue with that in the county of soft skills and with the drug issues and so forth. But I think the physical court, we need to try to start stressing the schools, maybe working a program in with the schools to try to start pushing that, educating them on these soft skills. Because as with the technology being what it is, the first thing that a business owner does, even a small business owner does, you come and apply for them, I'm getting on your Facebook page.
Absolutely.
I'm going to look. I'm going to see what you've got listed in there. See, you know, what, you know, you're showing, what your pictures are, and you can get a profile off of that and build a profile whether you want to employ this individual or not. And that's something that we need to educate our young people to let them know. You know, it's not like it used to be when I was going through school or when you was going through school. You know, you'd go do this, well, it was gone. You know, they'll forget about this in 2 or 3 weeks or a month. Well, no, you got it. The internet never goes away. It's there and it'll always be there.
Yep.
So, and we need to educate our young people. You know, you need to really think about that, because when you make those decisions, it might not be that dramatic right now. 20 years from now, it could be devastating.
Yeah. Well, we see with Judge Kavanaugh
And that's
bringing that
fine,
back
yeah.
from all that time. You know, when I guess it was my second year as athletic director, we established a social media policy because we were facing some of the issues that they would be playing a game and then they would make comments to the opposing team on social media, and it became this battle.
Yeah.
So we developed, studied this place in New Jersey. There were 3 schools that had survived court challenges, and I got their media agreement and based ours based upon these schools that had media agreements, and then we would do training with them to talk to them about exactly what you said there. From that, we became the first school district in the state, or not in the state, in this area that required when somebody applied, they had to give all their social media names so that I would go check. Because I would go check their name. Well, we hired one coach and their Facebook name was a different name. And a parent sent it to me and said, "Do you know this is your coach?" And I went on there and I was like, "That is my coach." Did not know, but it wasn't her name. So why would I? That's when we started to require all your accounts.
And that's something we need to educate these younger kids, because as technology goes, and they're wanting to move up the ladder in either the corporate world or anything else, even getting bonds. I mean, this could all come into play when even if you're self-employed and I want to go out and get a bond, and they
explain that what that means.
A bond, like if you're going to do a big job, a multi-million-dollar job, you sometimes they require a bond payment. Well, they go off of your background and whether you're stable enough to make that bond.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where we need to educate, I think, work together. And another thing I see that's going to be really detriment to our community if we need to try to get turned around is retaining our younger people.
Yes.
And getting them to come back here and getting them more involved in what goes on in this community so they do feel a sense of worth here, so they'll stay here, because we have an aging population. You and I are not getting any younger.
No.
So, and as that as that goes on, that our kids are growing up, they're getting out of school. It's going to put a hardship on the school system. It's going to put a hardship on our tax base. Our median income is going to drop. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things that plays into that. And then when you go recruiting businesses, and they look at that, and that's a big negative, and that's what we really got to focus on here in the next 4 to 8 years, trying to get these younger kids more involved in what's going on.
Well, you said a lot there, and there's a couple things I want to get back to, but let's build upon that. How do you retain those people?
Well, that's just it. I think we've got a lot of jobs that are going unfilled. That's one, but and it's not only the jobs; it's bringing it down, getting the community more involved. I went to a community the other day. They had a festival. They're all walking around with their own shirts, and they were just proud to be part of that community. That's a sense of worth we've got to start building, because
Okay.
once we build that, people want to be here.
Yes.
They want to be proud to be from here, and that's what we got to get to. Because if you don't, you're going to lose them. And there's already a trend. I was reading the other day. I think it was in the Lexington Herald, that there's a trend going towards everybody going towards the inner city and wanting to move back to the inner cities and not the suburbs so much. All the millennials are all wanting everything right at their hands.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's going to be detriment in these rural areas.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what you said, build the sense of community. Are there amenities? Are there things that we can do, that you all can do as fiscal court, that would make sure this is a community where somebody wants to move into the county or wants to stay? You know, they're going to go away for college.
Yes, definitely.
And there's going to be people that are going to have jobs at Procter & Gamble and those kind of places, and you're not going to be able to not have that.
Yeah.
But when they have those jobs, they still want to live here and are willing to make that commute. I made the point, my parents commuted to Newport from 1971 till they still live here today. Now they're not commuting, but that was what they chose to do. What do we need to make sure we're doing so that those people want to come back after college, or they're willing to make that commute?
Well, we got to keep our tax rates in check. I mean, we can't have the same tax rate as what they got up in northern Kentucky and be able to try to compete with that. Because if you can live up there for the same, it's going to cost you down here and then drive 40 miles to get there. That's not going to be a plus in our sense. We got to all work together on that, and we need to look at our transportation in and out. I mean, you don't want to build such a road where you lose all your commerce, but you want to build a road where when the people want to go somewhere, it's not so hard. Like 22 is horrible. I mean, going from here to Dry Ridge is absolutely horrible. And that's the kind of things we need to start focusing on, maybe straightening some of it. Building a new road might be a little far-fetched. I mean, there is some roads being discussed. I'm sure you've heard about, you know, the outer belts and so forth. I don't know if we'll live long enough.
Yeah, they've been discussed since the 80s probably.
We need to get into reality and see what we can do on a smaller, take smaller bites at it.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at the Taj Mahal. We're never going to get a Toyota plant in Pendleton County. But we may get a subsidiary that builds the seats.
Yes.
You know, and that's the kind of things we need to bite off at. You know, we would be better served, I think, to have 4 business employing 100 people apiece than have one employing 400.
Yeah.
Because if that one goes out, you've lost all your eggs.
Fuller.
Yeah, Fuller
That's a good
and
example.
Shoals.
Yeah.
When Shoals and Fullers were here, this town was booming.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of women working at Shoals, which when the women are where they work is where they shop.
Yeah.
So when you shop there and money just moves hand, and I know years ago it used to be 7 times. When a person spends $1 at the store, it would circulate through that community 7 times before it actually left the community.
Yeah. And you're building everything up at that point in time.
Exactly. You're retaining. They're not running to Walmart. They're actually shopping here at Wyatt's, the Dollar General Mart. Eating at Howard's, at the Mexican restaurant, and so forth.
And we have, Hammer Strength came in and did shows, so we've proven that there is an industrial site, an industrial business that can be successful here in Pendleton County.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh, we can't do it. Hammer Strength does it every day. And they're a worldwide business.
I guess it can't be something that is going to be next day.
Yes. Yeah.
Now but with what I see maybe coming out down the pike is smaller businesses with this high-speed internet that we're getting with Kentucky Connect and so forth, of being able to get entrepreneurs out here and being able to build off of that.
Yes.
Telemarketing and so forth.
Actually, that's what I was going to say. Somebody had mentioned about some of these vacant buildings in Falmouth about being call centers.
Yeah.
We get the right speed in here. We get everything set up. That's a new industry. It's not an industrial plant like Fuller's might have been, but it's in the same vein of these call centers. And then when I call DirecTV, I can actually understand the person on the other end instead of,
Exactly.
What did you say?
In the last probably 20 years, though, if you look, Keith, this country has changed from a manufacturing country to a service-oriented country.
Yeah.
And by doing so, we've outsourced our pay scale.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Because
absolutely.
the manufacturing industries actually pay more than what the service-oriented industry does. So as that's progressed, pay scales have dropped and so forth. And you might see that trend coming back with some of the tax laws and tariffs and so forth that are going on. So hopefully we can get some of the manufacturing jobs back here, like the hammers that don't need that next day, that they're going to stock it and they have ample time to get it, shipped.
Well, and I don't want to delve off too far, and I don't know this, but when you were saying about Fuller leaving, that was kind of around the time that NAFTA came into play,
Yeah.
and it went to Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, now with those mindsets changing, maybe some of the laws have changed, and a place like Fuller, who was thinking about going to Mexico, now might say, "No, well, let's go to a small rural county, and put our business there,
Our manufacturing,
because
right.
it's not advantageous anymore for us to go to Mexico like it used to be." So
Hopefully that'll come back. Then you'll start seeing things, I think, change.
yeah. Oh golly, you said something. Revenue. You had mentioned about some of the ways to go about do that. How do you see the fiscal court should be generating revenue?
Well, we get our revenue from several different sources. We get them through the tax base, at property tax. We get it through discretionary money. We get it through the LGA. The mines, the two mines are very instrumental in bringing the taxes into the county. The Rumpke with the tip fees, and so forth and so on. I'm not a big fan of raising taxes at all. Not at all. I'm one of them ones. Let's look at it. Let's see what we actually gotta have, and what we can do to get it done without doing it. And then if worst case scenario, and you've heard me over there on several occasions, I'm sure, say that, the worst case scenario is we have to look at that. But, let's exhaust every other avenue before we look at raising taxes. Because right now, and the trend is starting to change a little bit, is property values. If you look at property values in the county here, your assessment values are low.
Mm-hmm.
Your tax rates are high. So you're actually upside down. When you're looking in from an outsider looking in, and this is what I look at, because I do in the real estate a little bit, is I look at that, well, we want to try to flip that. We want to get these assessments up and then get them tax rates down. The amount of money will be the same, but it'll look better on paper and more enticing to investments and people wanting to move in here.
So, how do you get them up here?
By, making sure everything is, we don't have a bunch of trash laying everywhere. When you're driving down 27, it looks inviting. It's a place that you want to visit, you want to come and stay, you want to just be here, and clean up everything. It don't take a lot of money to keep clean.
Yeah.
Anybody can clean up, but when we got stuff just laying everywhere and it's just really not enticing, and I think we're working on that. We've got some things going through the courts and so forth that trying to clean up, get different laws to where we can try to maintain a certain level where everybody's property values stabilize.
Gotcha.
We got to protect the farmers also.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Any other ways that to raise? You raise things when more people want to come out and do it. If you only have one person wanting to buy a home, you don't get into the bidding war with anybody.
So you're taking less.
But how do you get more people interested in coming out here, cleaning it up, making it inviting? Anything else that you're all looking at that you need to do or focus on to get that? Because when you get this up here, those tax rates individually for me may drop.
Yeah, and the school gets better.
Yeah.
Because the school, you get enrollment goes up, so that's not as intrusive on your tax bill. Hopefully on that end of it,
Yes.
it comes down a little bit. There's several different things. The tourism council bringing, they're working really good together and trying to bring other events down. So that brings people in to see the community.
Very true.
And then once we get them here, we've got to make them want to be a part of the community and keep them here and make them want to live here. And it's a process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And it's not going to be the fiscal court being able to do this.
Yeah.
It's going to take the community.
Yeah. You're a cog to lead it, but you can't do all the work.
I look at it as a business. Everything I kind of base on it because I'm business oriented is we're the board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a stockholder in the business, if you have a problem, you come to us and we're going to address that problem. And that's the way I look at it. But we all got to work together to make our business thrive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because we've all got a vested stake in there. If you own property in this county, you have a vested stake in this community.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Either by my property taxes, the cost of it, or my property value.
Your resale value.
Yeah, my resale. Yeah, definitely.
Because you didn't buy that house to lose money on.
No, not at all. And I'm not going to own that house at some point in time. Either my kids will sell it, or somehow they'll figure out what to do, or Jan and I decide it's too big and we want something smaller, and we'll resell it.
But you want that to increase in value.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way we do that is we plan it and we control how we do it, but we step towards that. And it takes a community to do it. We all got to get on board with this.
So your view is we've got to raise the property values, which affects the revenue that you're going to get, not raise the tax rate.
The tax rate,
unless it's absolutely necessary.
The tax rate is and everything, there's a lot goes into that property value. I mean, it's not, you just can't go out here and arbitrarily just raise it. I mean, John's got to do his due diligence and he's got to justify that. I understand that.
And we had him in here, videos up on the FalmouthOutlook.com, and he does a great job in that video explaining that. Because we even talked about how all the tobacco buyouts lowered those values because there wasn't a revenue source anymore.
Exactly. And I mean, and that's in the flood was very devastating too.
The tornado, we lost homes that didn't replace.
We had I think the last time I looked, I was on council. It's been several years ago. They do the assessment value in quadrants. I think there's 4 quadrants in the county, and Falmouth, the lower end of Falmouth, there lost about $2 million in value. That's pretty devastating to a small community.
Yeah, well, I know from a school district that was reported at several board meetings where they talked about it. The property values in the county, somewhere around the time of the flood or the tornado and the recession, had dropped from like 22 million to 18 million.
Oh yeah.
So you take, and if you were on council at that time, you take $4 million that you're not getting tax rates anymore, it means you're getting less revenue.
But you still got to provide those services.
You still got the same bills.
And you got to figure out how to make that work and not make it such so devastating on the people that are still here, because you'll run those people out.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all got to work together. There's a fine line in there to where we grow.
Okay. You talk about all working together, and that's one of the questions I had, is that magistrates are a unique position. If you're when you were a city councilman, you represented all of Falmouth.
Yes.
District 4, you represent them. So there are times that you have to build a consensus what's best for the county, but may not be the best for District 4. Can you give us an example of those kind of situations where you've had to be able to build consensus together?
Well, I'm the current court right now. We do that really well. I mean, we have 4 meetings a month, sometimes more than that.
We went over that earlier with Bobby. I'm like, yes, they meet a lot. And if you haven't watched Bobby's video, I'll do it a lot shorter. This time on the 1st and 3rd Monday of each month is the caucus. Starts at 5 o'clock in the old courthouse. The 2nd and 4th Tuesday at 7 o'clock is the regular meeting. Caucus is a lot of discussion. That's where they ask questions, they go back and forth, and they figure out what's going on. That meeting could last, I usually tap out after 3 hours. They're still going on. I'm going home because it's a Monday, it's press day. I may have been here since 5 a.m. At 8 p.m., I'm done. But they may go till 11, 12 o'clock at night. What's the longest meeting?
Well, at City Council, I was in there until 12:30 one night. I think the longest over here was probably 10:30, 11.
And probably those zoning meetings.
Yeah,
I tapped out and went home.
The zoning is usually a hot topic that we get into. But back to your question there, we look at it as a whole anyway. I mean, if District 4 is hurting for something, the other 3 magistrates are right there. Let's see what we can do. Let's build it up, because we're a community. I mean, I might represent District 4, but if District 3's hurting for something, when we need to jump on board to get that taken care of, if it's a road slip, if it's a bridge out, I might have a bridge, yeah, it was on the list, but I can go another year. There might be a bridge over here in Allen's district, in District 1, that is pretty, it's deteriorated to a point real quick that we might have to take those funds, that 80-20 money, and put towards that. But I was in line for it.
Yeah.
So, and we work well with that, and it always comes back. We've never had an issue. We don't always agree. I mean, we'll sit there and hash it out, but we come to a gentleman's agreement at the end for the betterment of the community, to move the community forward.
Bobby mentioned, and I think it was in your district, that he thought he had a bad road, and then he went and traveled your road and went, no, his road's worse.
Well, and we've kind of sit down, and this is where we've all worked together. It used to be we'd split the money up equal on the road money. I don't know if you're familiar.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of, Bobby and I, my district's got more road miles. Bobby and both our districts are more than the other two. So we did it.
And that's county roads.
County roads.
Yes. That
we have to maintain with blacktop money out of the road aid money that we get from the state. So what we did is we come up with a formula on the roads miles.
Mm-hmm.
So it made it equal across the whole county, and we all get each our fair share for the amount of roads that we have in our district.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working out well. Now that we've had some roads in the southern part of the county that it took a 4-wheel drive to get across some of them.
Yeah.
That are now coming back around, that we're able to get some good foundation under them and some blacktop on them. And we just 3L. I was sweating that. I didn't know if Mago was going to come in for that or not. And finally we got that. Well, it's partially done.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot better than it was.
Yeah. I know I've shared that the state has been really dragging their feet with those flex funds, which really delayed that project being done. Talk about that a little bit, of how you get those funds from the state level to do projects like 3L.
Well, we apply each district. We put so many roads in, and then the state comes out, they'll drive the roads, and then they approve or disapprove of the roads that we actually applied for.
3L was number 1 on the list?
3L was number 1 on the list, and the first funding we didn't get because the discretionary money is what we put that in for. They didn't give us enough money, so Bobby and I think it was Bobby and Alan, don't hold me on Alan, I know Bobby got a road out of it, which they picked their roads because they were less money. 3L Highway is $180,000 to get that done, and they just wasn't going to let that happen. So the second round we put back in for it, got it done.
Time frame, when you say?
Oh, it was probably, it's been going on for 6 months. We've been back and forth.
But when did you know that you got 3L?
Probably 2 weeks ago that they, maybe a month ago, that they confirmed it after about 10 calls to Representative Hart and staying on the judge over there and him staying on them up there in Frankfurt. We finally, Judge Fields gave me a call and said, we got it in. I got the okay for it, so we can move forward with 3L. And
so it's not you all dragging your feet,
no,
it's the state dragging their feet.
And there's not a whole lot we can do. I mean, because once that road has been accepted, until they get the document, has to go to District 6 in Buttermilk. They have to sign. Then it has to go
to the Kentucky Transportation.
Yes.
District 6.
The engineering. Yeah. Then it has to go to Frankfurt to the legal, and then they got to sign it. And then it's got to come back. So once it goes through all that, and if you put any improvements to that road, they could pull it. So we had to let it get to the point to where it was, so we didn't lose that road aid money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's a lot of a process that I'm picking on up as I said in those meetings, and I wanted you to walk through so that the viewers would know it's not as a simple process.
Just to go out there and do it.
Hey, we got a pothole over here, and let's get it done. And why aren't you filling my potholes?
Yeah. Now sometimes that'll work, but when it comes into this, like our road aid money, we can do a lot of that. We got a little bit more wiggle room, but on that flex fund, the flex fund is money that the state. They grade each one of the state highways in the county.
And 3L is a state highway?
No.
Oh, okay.
3L is not a state highway. But as they grade them, they come up with a dollar amount of what it's going to cost them to do what the improvements they are wanting to do with the secondary roads. And then if there's money left over, the county can opt in to keep that or give it back to the state for some more projects within the county on state roads. So in the last few years, we've been opting to take it because we've got some issues with our county roads, and it just helps us out.
How much of the budget that y'all deal with is about roads? State, county, all the different ones? Just an approximate.
I'd say a third of it probably.
Yeah, because I know it's kind of like in Falmouth, utilities seems to be always the discussion. With you all, roads are always being addressed, almost every caucus and every meeting.
Yeah, there's roads. I mean, in the county, in Pendleton County, with the rivers and the creeks and the streamlines that we have a lot of bridges.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of culverts. You know, we think of some of these bridges, but they consider them culverts on a lot of it. Well, they come out and they weigh it. You know, they do a test on them every 2 years, and if it drops below a certain amount, well, you're replacing that bridge, or they're going to just keep lowering it until they close it.
Oh, really? So, do we have any bridges that are in the process of needing to be looked at?
Oh, we've got a couple. We've looked at the one out there on Milford Road by Donald Logan's. We're looking at that, straightening that out, trying to get it done. We've got one out on Milford Road on the other end towards the Brighton County line in my district alone. That we've looked. We just did Whitson Road. We replaced that bridge last year.
See, I told you got to know roads. He's ringing off these road names like crazy.
But I mean, it's something that we drill in, you know, because you get a phone call, you need to know, you got to answer. And if I don't know, I'll know soon enough, and I'll get back with you.
Yeah. So we talked about roads and all those kind of things. There was something about businesses I wanted to come back to, and now for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. But we'll kind of move on. Hopefully my oldness will go away, my memory will come back. One of the areas that we've talked about repeatedly in all these interviews that all communities are facing is drug issue. What can the fiscal court do to support the local battle against this drug issue that we're facing?
Well, I think part of it, you know, the federal government is going to have they're going to have to get more involved on the local level, and I mean the Narcan is very. It's devastating to our ambulance service. I mean, when they're going out here and they're giving, it used to be you'd give one can of Narcan, and that's all that's $50. Mm-hmm. And then the person gets up and there's no bill, no nothing, it's just gone. Well, now it's taking 3 and 4 cans and sometimes 6. And then they're getting up and there's nobody paying that bill. Well, we're all paying that bill. Mm-hmm. You know, we're all absorbing that. And that's where, you know, I think the federal government needs to come in, help these rural communities out, because that's what started this, is the federal government, by their watchdog not staying on top of it with these wholesalers, is what started this heroin epidemic. Yeah. So now they need to come in and help the local people get through this, and I think that's one thing on the financial end of it.
Because we've seen in Pendleton County, Kenton County has had to close their ambulance services.
Yes.
Our ambulance services ran into some financial issues that you all were able to work out, and I think you're all still addressing and working on what to do for the future so next June you don't get in that same problem. So those 6 times that they give an Narcan, that's $300. You do that once a month, well there's, you know, a lot of money being spent out, $3,600, that you're not getting anything back out of.
And that has to be resupplied. Mm-hmm. You know, that has to be rebought for the next, you know, person that needs it. And it's just the Medicaid has cut down their funding for when we do calls for the seniors and so forth. I think $250 is all they're allowing on that. Well, you know, but with gas being $2.60 a gallon, we're probably getting 7 miles to the gallon on one of those ambulances, and 80% of the calls are going to St. Elizabeth Edgewood. Mm-hmm. You know, and then you're paying these paramedics, you know, $17, $18 an hour also.
And we have to pay them.
And you have to pay them to retain them.
Well, and because we're the advanced life system, where they can do things that a basic life system can't, because we have a long drive.
Yes.
Or the helicopter come out or whatever. We need those people who demand more money because they're better trained, and could get a higher rate in North Kentucky.
Yes.
Back to your retaining good people and keeping them right back out here.
And that was one of the reasons we looked in. I know there were some people that was against us doing the airbag, but you know, when you don't have a hospital, within 22 miles
Mhm.
of where you're located at. You want to try the first hour or 2 hours is very crucial in saving a person's life.
Mhm.
So, that's something that we as a community looked, or as a fiscal court looked at, and we beat it. We looked at, if we take this money out of here, could it come out of the LGA money, which is funded by the mines,
Mhm.
and we took the $50,000 and we put that towards that to give the citizens of Pendleton County that option for their loved ones if there is a tragedy like
Yeah.
that, to get to the hospital quick
Mhm.
and not get that $30,000 bill.
How has it worked out?
There was 120 calls last year that used that. So if you take 30,000 times 120 calls,
And you've invested how much into it?
$49,000.
So in 2 calls, you've already paid for that, for those people
Yeah.
who would be billed on insurance or whatever it would be.
And we took it, like I said, out of the mine money.
Mhm.
And we've actually lowered the county tax rate this time by pennies.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't significant, but we didn't have to raise it.
yeah.
We've added 2 pretty crucial services with the extended hours at the clinic
Mhm.
and the air care. And we also rolled back mental health tax also too on that. Them are the only 2 taxes we actually have the control to roll back.
Okay. You mentioned those kind of things. Are there other things that you've been involved in the last year? You mentioned that when city council, things that you were involved in there. Are there other things that you would champion that you've been a part of in fiscal court for reasons why you should be going back?
Well, I mean, we brought other things like the air back, the clinic. We started the senior bash with Judge Fields. He instrumental with that, and we all backed him on that. And that's more of bringing the community together to highlight some of the things, that we do and we give back. And there's a lot of businesses that donate to that. And the senior, I don't know if you've ever went over there, but it's a huge success. Been the last 2 years. Sold every ticket we had available.
And you sell them out quickly too.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
it's not like you're selling them at the door that day.
It goes.
It's 2-3 weeks beforehand sold out.
Yeah, and that's something that it gets the seniors more involved, get them out, and they enjoy it. It's really a good event that we have. Been part of the with working with Butler. I wasn't real instrumental in it, but I was on board with them with their sewer projects that they had, sewer and water project. The county kind of helped them along with some of their issues that they had with that. Falmouth we were helping out with the police cruisers, giving them some money through a grant that we had available to us that we got, and we turned it over to the city to help them purchase police cruisers.
Okay.
So I mean, just little things like that where it goes back to what I was saying before. If we all work together, we can all come to a common goal and try to move forward. But if we sit there and put the walls up and divide everybody, we're not getting it, or we're going to weaken every one of us.
What is the old saying? A house divided cannot stand? And that kind of hits right along what you're saying there. If you each one staking out their own room.
Well, the Kentucky motto: united we stand, divided we fall.
There you go. That's another version of it right there.
And that's the proven statement if there ever was one. I mean, if everybody goes up there in one voice and is talking in one, they're going to listen. But if you get 4 or 5 naysayers here and 4 or 5 over there, those elected officials that are in Washington and in Frankfurt, they don't want to get into that. They don't want to divide it because that's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
But you go up there as one, they're willing to jump right on your shoulders and go with it.
Absolutely. Hey, you mentioned about the drug issue, about the fallout for you all financially. Is there anything that the actions you all might be able to take that would support, sheriff's office, departments, ambulance, whatever that might help out in this?
Well, and Keith, I think we need to put the stigma back on it, and that it's not okay to go out here and try heroin. It used to be, you didn't do drugs because it wasn't socially accepted. Well, now we've got parents doing it in front of their kids. So, and we see this on a daily basis where our prosecuting attorney has to take the kids out of the home, and then the court has to deal with this as far as the financial burden. You know, we don't deal with placing the kids or nothing like that, but we have to absorb that cost. And that's where we need to get that out. You know, put the stigma back on it. And it's going to have to start in the lower grades in the school.
Yeah.
3rd, 4th grade. I mean, it's sad to say that, but that's where it's going to start, because once they get to 7th and 8th grade, I don't know as if you haven't lost some of them already.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I agree. Totally agree with you.
So, I mean, I think...
I'm not saying that they can't come back, but it's harder to come back.
But once you get it in their mindset, and they, you know, and it's easy to sit here and say, you know, I'd only give them 1 can of that, and I wouldn't, you know, if it was your kid laying there, could you honestly do that? And I had that perception at first, you know, and then I went to Frankfurt to the committee, or to the conventions that we have, and I listened to some of the people that's actually went through it. Yeah. And then you start getting a different version of this. You know, there was, for an example, there was a guy that was a mechanical engineer that he had lived in a $1 million home in LaGrange, Kentucky. He had 2 kids, a wife, and good business. His wife was a doctor. He fell off a scaffolding, broke his back, got hooked to Oxycontin. They cut him off of that. He went to heroin, and within 2 years, he lost his house, his family, and was serving time in the penitentiary.
Wow.
And now, he didn't come into this as a drug dealer or selling. It just happened upon him, and couldn't resist the urge once he was connected to it. And those people we need. Some people you're never going to help. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you do. You can send them all the drug rehabs you want. But there's some people out there that need that extra chance to try to get them back on the straight and narrow.
And I agree with you on the stigma. That's one of the things. When I moved into the position I'm in now, that was one of the first conversations with Neil that we talked about. Is there was a lot of things I don't know about this job, and it was like, well, how do we handle this? How do we handle a suicide story? Do we cover it? Do we not? And we had those kind of conversations. But we also had a conversation how we're going to do drugs. And if you're possession and you're an addict, okay, maybe we won't look at it. But by golly, you're coming in this community and you're selling drugs, we're putting your picture in the paper and we're saying, get out of our county.
Yeah. Get
out of here. We don't want you. We are making a conscious effort to try to put a stigma back on it and not let it operate in the dark out here. You've
got to. I mean, you've got to educate these young kids not to try it for the first time. Because once they try it the first time, there was a 50-50 shot that they would not be addicted.
Yeah.
The second time, it's over.
Yeah.
They said that they'll reuse and they'll become addicted.
Yeah.
That's just mind-boggling to me. Of course, I've never experienced anything like that, so I mean, it's hard to imagine.
And different people, like you said, there's a genetic makeup there too that makes you more susceptible or not more susceptible. Mm-hmm. But it's not a risk you can take.
No.
Because if you are more susceptible that one time, it has you.
Yeah.
And you end up like the guy that's in penitentiary and lost everything.
Yeah.
And you can't take that risk.
Well, and then look at the burden that one person has put on all of us, because we're all paying for that.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like that we put him there and it's okay, it's done, he's no more of a burden. No. Mm-hmm. You're paying every day for that guy to sit there.
Yeah.
So is it better to make him a productive, if you can, I said, some of them you can, is it better to make him a productive person to where he's not costing you anything, or put him there where it's costing you?
Absolutely. I was, golly, who was it I was talking to? I think it was, I was reading that story on Kanye West, who is, he's real big into prison reform, and he is negotiating or trying to encourage a business that is starting a factory outside of Chicago to hire all ex-cons, to give them a place to come out and feel like they're contributing to society, to get them back into society instead of coming out and feeling like they can't do anything to help.
Well, the state.
And I thought, wow, that's all. That's
great.
What people of famous. That's a great thing to be doing there.
Exactly right. And the state has actually started. The state of Kentucky. I don't know if you were aware of this, but if you went to the penitentiary, you couldn't hold a license to cut hair.
Oh.
You couldn't hold a lawyer. You couldn't become a lawyer. Even if
Okay.
you was cleaned up, if you had a felony on you couldn't handle it.
Why haircut?
I think it was a license. You
Although-
couldn't hold a state license.
Although I don't think me and you would ever
Well,
have to
yeah.
worry about that issue.
I don't. But I think it was a state license. You couldn't hold a state license.
Well, that's just stupid.
It was, and I think they're changing that because we've got such an
Yeah.
epidemic with these people coming out. They've got to have a place to work, or the reoccurrence is going to be astronomical.
Absolutely. One thing we've kind of finished up each one of these things on is simply, before I get to that final question, are there things coming up in which somebody wants to reach out to you about an issue in your district? Somebody wants to talk to you about your campaign? Somebody wants to just discuss an issue with you? How do they go about reaching you? Where can they go to get information to contact you? And
Well, it's on the county website, obviously.
that's pendletoncounty.ky.gov?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I've got a Facebook page also, and my number's plastered all over all my vehicles. So
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you can pick up phone, call my cell phone. It's plastered on my vehicle, and I don't care if it's a heating and air call or if it's a road problem or what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something you feel that I can address in any way, call me. I mean, I'll do what I can.
Any events coming up over the next 2 or 3 weeks before November 6th?
Well, other than tomorrow night, we got the community
Measure
the candidates.
Yeah.
We've got that coming up, and then they got the haunted something, which thing down here in town.
Now the Spooktacular
Maybe that's what.
is over at the
Well, no,
fairgrounds,
they
isn't
got
it?
something down here, I think. Which
Oh.
I'm dressed up as. I'm not sure what it was. They called last night on it. I'll have to get a little more information on that.
Okay, and maybe they'll be sending us something soon.
Yeah, but that, I mean, there'll be. We've got the 4-H is having a little get together out to at the extension office. So
Yeah, I got that email today, something about meeting with senior citizens or
yeah, and
something like
seeing
that.
what we can do to improve the community again, bringing everybody together and seeing what we can do to make it a stronger community. And we meet, I guess, a few years ago. We started talking about it with Bill Mitchell and the judge and the city councils and the fiscal court and the school board all meeting together. And we're doing that about every 3 months, trying to see where they're at, so we're not duplicating things or we're not going after the same thing that they are. Is there something that we can enhance you guys and help you out, or vice versa? So that's helping out some.
Good. Well, the last question is simple. We've talked about the last 8 years with you being on fiscal court. You're reelected. You start January 1st, 2019. Your term would end December 31st, 2023. What would you look back at in these 4 years and hope that residents in District 4